Good morning. This is the time and the place for the Planning Hearing Officer's hearing for October 16, 2013. My name is Roger Kiesel, and I will be conducting the hearings as hearing officer. We have one case today, and relevant exhibits are posted on the panels located directly behind me. Findings. If the evidence presented in the application at the hearing meets the criteria described in the findings for the case, the Planning Hearing Officer can either approve or impose conditions for approval on the case in question. If the findings of fact are not evident, then the request will be denied. Public notice. Notification for this hearing was accomplished by the use of public notices, which were mailed to property owners and occupants of property within 500 feet of the subject property, physically posted at the site in question, and placed in the local newspaper. The hearing will proceed as follows. First, the description of the application or request will be read. Second, reports and comments received from other city departments and other letters or communications from interested parties will be read. Third, the case planner will make a brief overview of the case, give analysis, and make a recommendation. Fourth, the applicant will be asked to come forward stating both name and address, and will be asked to present the case within a 15-minute time limit. Others in the audience who wish to speak will be asked to come forward stating both name and address, and they will be given a 3-minute time limit. The applicant will then be given the opportunity to make closing comments if desired in response to testimony given by the preceding speakers within a 5-minute time limit. And then finally, the hearing will be closed and taken under submission, or a decision may be rendered. Decision. After the hearing, the decision will be prepared in writing and will be in the form of a letter sent to the applicant and to all persons who responded to the public notice, either by speaking at the hearing or by submitting written responses and have provided their name and mailing address. The date of the decision will be the date appearing on the letter. Appeals. Under the appeal provisions of Title 30, Chapter 30.62 of the Glendale Municipal Code, the decision may be appealed to the Planning Commission within 15 days of the decision date, and the notice of appeal shall be filed with the Building and Safety Division located in MSB 101 of this building. Speakers cards. If you wish to speak, please write your name and address on one of the speakers forms, which have been provided by the front door and submitted to planning staff. I would also like to inform everyone that the official proceedings of the Planning Hearing Officer's hearing are recorded on tape as part of the public record. Okay, as I mentioned before, we have one case on the agenda tonight, or agenda this morning. It is variance case number PVAR 1322190, located at 806 East Chestnut Street. The applicant is San Gabriel Valley Habitat for Humanity. And the project is an application for variances to construct a new affordable 3-unit detached townhouse-style buildings located at 806 East Chestnut Street in the R2250 zone. The lot size is 7,000 square feet. And 6 parking spaces are proposed in 3 2-car attached garages. Now I'll quickly go over comments from other departments. Urban Forester has just standard comments. The Housing Division supports the application for approval and will be working in partnership with the City of Glendale Housing Authority, so they're supportive. The Building and Safety Division just has standard comments. The Community Services and Parks Division just clarifies that the project is subject to the Public Use Facilities Development Impact Fee Ordinance. GWP just has standard comments. The Fire Department standard fire code requirements apply. Thanks. Engineering just has standard comments. Integrated Waste has standard comments. That's it. All right, now I'd like to call on Miss Asp, the case planner, to do a brief overview of the case.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Kiesel. As you stated earlier, this is a 3-unit project at 806 East Chestnut. This past summer, the applicant received a loan for the property from the City of Glendale Housing Authority with a condition that new residential development include affordable units to low-income families for a period no less than 45 years. As designed, the applicant is requesting standards variance to construct for sale 3-unit detached townhouse-style housing on a single lot, 7,000 square feet in size. A total of 6 parking spaces will be provided in 3 individual 2-car garages with direct access to each unit. And I want to note that the project qualifies for reduced parking ratios contained in Section 30.36 of the zoning code, which are consistent with state density bonus law. And under this section of the code, the project requires 2 spaces per unit inclusive of guest and accessible parking. The variances that are requested are for at-grade parking in 3 enclosed garages and not within a subterranean or semi-subterranean garage as required by code. Provide approximately 15% of the total unit area within 15% of the total unit area at the ground floor, where 25% is required. Each unit is proposed with 3 stories, where 2 is the maximum. A proposed floor area ratio of 0.91, which includes the garage floor area, where 0.85 is the maximum. A proposed driveway approach of 62%, where 52% is the maximum. And proposed front setback averages of 21.3 at the first floor and 19 feet 6 at the second and third floor. And I know there is an interior setbacks of 10 feet at the second and third floors, where 8 feet minimum and 11-foot average is required. And on the second floor, an 11-foot minimum and 14-foot average is required on the third floor. As far as lots go, this lot is slightly smaller than average. It has a depth of 140 feet instead of a more typical 150 feet. And this relative shallowness impacts the ability to design a functional project suitable for families, while also providing amenities which might otherwise meet or more closely approach code standards. The zoning code requires that when more than 4 units or more than 1 dwelling unit for each 2,500 square feet of lot area are proposed on a single lot, all required off-street parking be provided in subterranean or semi-subterranean garages. By code, the project would be required to provide parking in a subterranean or semi-subterranean garage, even though there are less than 4 units, and only one unit for each 2,333 square feet of lot area, which is at only 167 square foot per unit shortfall. Placing the garages at grade creates many benefits for the project. The same garage area would not be counted if they were located in a subterranean or sub-by-subterranean garage, but as it is above ground, it gets counted towards the floor area and constitutes the entire amount of floor area over that which is allowed by FAR limits of the zone. The project utilizes a third story that's designed within the height limit as measured in feet, reduced setbacks, which partially meet setback requirements. For example, they often meet the minimum but not the required average, or are close to meeting the minimum requirements, and a minimal amount of floor area at the ground floor at the entrance to make reasonably sized units intended for families with 3 bedrooms and ample living area, as well as private outdoor space at the ground level that is greater than 6 times the minimum required. Access to the individual garages is through one driveway, which exceeds the maximum width. The portion of the driveway, which is an approach to the front unit, combined with the shared driveway that leads to the rear unit, results in a driveway approach that's greater than the 52% maximum of the lot area at the front property line. The driveway width is minimized at the curb cut at only 22 feet wide versus the permitted 26, but widens up to 31 feet further from the public right-of-way. The project has been designed to meet the code's intention to discourage overly wide driveways by this, but I do want to note that landscaping is introduced right at the front unit to split up that expanse of pavement as much as possible. There are many...
Referring to this right here?
Correct. Many 3-story buildings exist in the neighborhood, and this project will be compatible. It is designed to be consistent with the surrounding development. It promotes an attractive, healthy, and safe environment for future tenants as well as the surrounding community. The R2250 zoning designation is intended for multifamily residential development, and given the unusual size and the affordable restrictions that would be placed on the property, there are exceptional circumstances or conditions that apply to the property that do not apply to other property in the same neighborhood. With that, staff was able to justify all 4 required findings of fact and recommends approval of this application. That concludes my summary, but I'm available for any questions.
Okay. Thanks.
You may have lost your microphone.
Huh?
You may have lost your microphone.
Yeah, it wasn't on. Can you hear me better now?
No.
Okay, because the lights aren't on either.
My light's on.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. Good morning, hearing examiner people and staff. Good morning, Christian. Good morning. Thank you very much for allowing us the opportunity to come and make a presentation this morning. Again, my name is Richard Dell. We're the architects working with Habitat for Humanity on the project. We're located at 3436 North Paducah Road, Suite 200. And we've had the opportunity to work with staff and Housing Authority to present this project to you this morning. And in the audience, we have Mike Fortney from the Housing Authority and Sonia Yates, Executive Director for Habitat for Humanity, should you have questions for them. I think staff, and I have to say this publicly, staff has done a great job in encapsulating the challenges regarding the project. And although we've asked for variances on certain things, overall, categorically, I would have to say that the variances are really nominal with respect to a project this size and nature. It is limited because of its size, as Christian has talked about, but what really took place here in terms of the planning process that led us to this final examination and final solution was, the option was to build a semi-subterranean garage, cover the entire site with a parking garage in concrete, and put 2 stories of continuous structure on top of that. Ergo, it would look like a massive box, like some of the other projects do, the other 3-story projects, actually contiguous to us, behind us, across the street from us. And their protocol and what they do nationally from Habitat is to provide a housing component that is indicative of a home that one would want to buy, not something that's stacked on top of a parking garage, et cetera, et cetera. So that really led us to a solution, what you see today, 3 individual homes, gives individuality to the homeowners themselves, and then literally maximize and optimize the amount of actually private open space for them. And that's shown with the usable patios that separate the projects. And we've taken those areas where they would normally have been used as common areas, which never get used, and we transpose those into private open space for the homeowner to utilize. Covered patio and an open patio, open landscape to the site. I could go through each one of these variances. However, I think the issues are, again, as staff has stated, been mitigated, and the request for the FAR increase, obviously that is a quirk in the code that says we have to count the garage as part of our FAR. If we didn't count part of the garage at the FAR, we'd be around 71%, well below the allowable. The unit count, allowed 3 units per site. We're not asking for any levity on that. The height limitation, it is 2 stories. However, the height limitation is 31 feet in this zone, and we are at 31 feet currently. So again, we're compatible, and we believe we're compatible and in compliance to the code with regard to the height limitation. From a standpoint of view of this particular project fitting in the neighborhood and being compatible to the neighborhood, we believe it's an embellishment to the neighborhood. If you take a look at some of the photographs along Chestnut, you'll see projects that we don't believe are indicative of what the city would like to perpetuate. This is embellished. This has more of a craftsman-style architecture to it, where some of the other ones are somewhat devoid. And again, 3 stories right out of the hat. Taller, there's 2.5-story projects, which are not isolated on the map given to you. So this project, we think, from a height standpoint of view, FAR standpoint of view, really meets the spirit and the intent of what the codes are structured for. Let me see. The other variances that we're looking at, this is a tight site, and in order to provide adequate living space, 1,300 square feet of habitable space, not counting the stairs within the unit, we literally had to press the envelope and ask for these relief on the 2nd and 3rd floor setbacks to provide bare minimum size bedrooms, et cetera, et cetera. So if you look carefully at the plan, you'll see a very deliberate intent to maximize and optimize the footprints for the location of the stairs, how the units are placed and orientated on the site, and then literally work within an envelope to make sure the living space was indicative of something of a family of 5. And that becomes a challenge when you're looking at 1,300 square feet of usable space, not counting the stair. Also, the orientation of
I'm
the
sorry,
units-
just, so, because I read in the staff report, there's 1,700 square feet
Right.
roughly units. What you're doing is you're taking out the stair area.
Right.
So, basically, this plus this plus this is...
It's roughly 1,300, about 1,300 square feet.
Okay.
Right. Livable, habitable space.
Okay.
And again, unfortunately, in the code, we have to count the stair as part of our habitable space on all floors. So each floor racks up another 100 and some odd square feet for the FAR, which can't be used. But again, Glendale code requires that to count the stair on each floor level, which is punitive, from my humble opinion. But it is the code, and it does put us in a position where we exceed our FAR. With that being said, you'll notice we also located the units where the public space, actual living rooms, are facing towards the units themselves. They do not face out into the adjacent properties. We do have some bedroom windows along the west facade that look out over the property line. However, there's about a 20-foot separation between our bedroom windows and the adjacent structure bedroom windows. We tried to landscape our driveway as best possible, introducing one tree and some landscaping along the west driveway in an effort to create more of a single-family home environment, and introducing as much landscaping as possible. Again, I believe the project is not intrusive to the local area based on the setbacks and our ability to orientate the structures internally rather than have everything face outside. None of our balconies face onto the adjacent properties, and they face onto themselves as best we can. Again, trying to develop a single-family residential home environment rather than a a project where it's covered in square footage with a semi-subterranean garage and units on top. Pretty typical approach. Again, and part of what tempers this is that these are going to be built with volunteers. So building concrete garages and things of that nature become problematic with their national program in terms of how the volunteers who actually own the home are going to work on these homes. So all this is somewhat a challenge when you start to put all that into the design criteria and make it work. So again, I believe from an FAR standpoint of view, setback standpoint of view, along with the driveway, I think Christian talked about that very briefly, we have mitigated as much as we can, and the variances that we're asking for, in our opinion, are very subtle and not punitive to the project, and or set a bad example and sort of set a precedence that would be detrimental to the environment and to the community. Along with that, I believe that's about it in 15 minutes in a nutshell. Again, I have to thank staff. I think they did a great job in encapsulating and really identifying the challenges that we've had with this site because of the size and its location, and working with Habitat for Humanity and their requirements, national requirements, which really set the stage for how we approached the project and designed it. And again, the whole intent was, can we design an environment for 3 families, private open space, that doesn't look like a condo? And that's what generated what you see in front of you today.
Okay.
And if you have any other questions, we're here. Again, Mike Fortney from the Housing Authority. Sonia Yates from Habitat is here to answer any other questions with this. But again, in closing, I really think, from our perspective, this is an embellishment to the community and the neighborhood. And I think it may set the stage for some smaller projects that might set as a model for small lot development, in our opinion. So thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Mike Fortney.
Good morning, Planning Hearing Officer. I'm Mike Fortney, Senior Housing Project Manager, City of Glendale, Community Development Department, Housing Division. Address is 141 North Glendale, room 202. I just wanted to mention, or come here and speak in favor of the project. The Housing Authority, as Kristen had mentioned, provided the loan to acquire the property back on July 16th. I think that's 90 days ago. So very much in support of this project, very much in support of San Gabriel Valley Habitat for Humanity. We have done 7 projects with San Gabriel Valley Habitat for Humanity in the past, the most recent being the Geneva Homes project. So this would be the 8th project that we've done with them. Had nothing but great experience working with San Gabriel Valley Habitat for Humanity. So just wanted to reiterate that we are absolutely in support of this project. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Linda Newmeyer?
Hello.
Hi.
My name is Linda Newmeyer. I live at 810 East Chestnut, Apartment C. I am inches away from where this development will be constructed, and I had this has been an informative talk this morning. I've learned a lot. I have 2 simple questions or comments. The first one is that it's the opinion of the builder and the housing authority and the architect that this does not impact, that this is a favorable impact on the community. But it depends on your point of view, obviously, and the land that is there now holds open space and green space that is going to be completely destroyed. That is something that hasn't been put into the equation or spoken about at all this morning. I understand that Habitat for Humanity works a lot in, I imagine, South Central, and if we look in South Central, we can see the lack of green space. And as a teacher, I also know that children who live in these impoverished areas, impoverished green space areas, have increased health conditions. So although I know that what I am saying is going to be completely ignored today, I would like there to be some small bit of consciousness that this Habitat for Humanity and the building architect will do more than they intend to in terms of green space, because they are taking out a huge, several trees that are probably several hundred years old that have been providing a living space, calm, peaceful living space for the renters that whose property until fairly recently was there. So it's a beautiful park space. It's a small park. It is also a space where blue scrub jays and brown-tailed hawks live. So I just want them to put a lot of emphasis on greening the space more than they have talked about this morning. And then secondly, I wanted to know when they are going to cut down this tree. And since we are only inches away, they haven't mentioned how they are going to protect with the dust and the building, where they're going to how they're going to protect, what they're going to construct or protect, what protection they're going to put up for renters who are several inches away from this construction. And I also finally wanted to say that I know that this tree is going to be killed, and as renters, and it was our space until it was sold, we probably could use the chips and all to place in the garden areas. So, and possibly they could use it too. If it's going to be in the way for them, they can just put it, I would say, on our property, but they would have to ask our landlord. But we will talk to him about that. So I just wanted to say that there are various points of view in this project, and I showed you one. Thank you
Great.
for your time.
Thank you. And Maggie Shabarian? Okay.
I'm not the applicant. I made a mistake.
Oh, that's
I should
fine.
have marked the boxer of the neighbor and also interested party.
Okay.
Is that okay?
That's fine.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, my name is Margaret Shabazian. As a neighbor and interested party, I am pro of this project for humanity. And I have a couple of questions. I wasn't sure that this project, is it for Section 8 people also, or it's just low income, and how much is low income considered? And also the floor plans, the copy of floor plans, is it available for us as a how can I say, as a buyer of a unit? And how long will take the project to finish? If they start, when they start, and how long will take to finish?
Okay.
And also, yeah, I guess that's it.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I've got a couple questions, and then I think maybe I could call the applicant back up and answer some of the questions that were brought forward by the last two speakers. Do you want to come up, Mr. Dell, or?
I'll need to fill out.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Sonia Yates, the Executive Director for San Gabriel Valley Habitat for Humanity, and we look forward to working with the neighbors to mitigate these concerns. Let me address the ones that were most recently asked. What is low income? The qualifying factor for these homes is that the applicants make up to 80% of the area median income and no less than 50% in order to be able to afford the monthly payments. All of Habitat's bills are a hand up. They are not a hand out. People have mortgages, but we charge 0% interest in order to enhance the opportunity for low-income people.
So what's roughly the income range then?
Somewhere around $50,000. It depends on the size of the family. It can go all the way up to, I think, $76,000 for larger families.
For like a family of five?
A family of 6 or
Family of
7.
6.
I think we did the highest one at a family of 7 in order to meet the requirement of no more than 2 persons per bedroom plus 1.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Okay.
So it's in that middle affordable range that is designated by HUD in Washington, D.C. as the low-income category. Pardon me? Section 8 is not a connected part to this. So if you have further questions, you might want to see me about details on that. Can anyone here in the room purchase? I hope you have seen our extensive outreach about the opportunity to purchase these homes. 3 informational meetings were held starting September 26th, October 3rd, and then on October 5th, a Saturday. We are continuing to offer small group informational meetings and to provide applications to people who judge that on the basis of what they learn at the informational meeting, they would be eligible to purchase the home. And I do anticipate that there will be one more of these. Our offices are in Azusa, out by where Costco is there, if you're familiar with that, on Irwindale Avenue. And so this last meeting will be held at that location, and you are welcome to attend if you feel you would be eligible. The schedule for the build, we are anticipating a groundbreaking early in March, and then a construction period of about 14 months thereafter. Habitat builds always begin in the way where there is a community celebration, that there are going to be homes built, opportunities for neighbors and all kinds of volunteers from all walks of life to come and participate with the selected families who will be presented to our board of directors in January and then subsequently begin their journey. All applicants do have to contribute 500 hours of sweat equity in the building of their homes. So I hope I've answered the questions that you have on that.
There was one question about floor plans being available. I mean, we have, the floor plans are public information in our office. You can look at them here. I don't know whether they've got brochures available for...
Not at that level of detail, so I think Richard Dell would provide that, or City, from what you have on file to share.
Yeah, okay.
Okay?
There were also questions on open space and landscaping. Are you going to...
I'll try and address
Okay.
those. Thank you.
Okay.
It is regrettable that this is the one last empty site on that block. And with all due respect to the neighborhood, they have utilized that site, even though it's private property, and they have been beneficiaries of that. However, again, it is private property, and in doing so, there is a need for housing. Housing Authority has identified that. Ergo, they were able to lend money to the Habitat to build this. With that said, there have been so many projects built on that street, 3 stories, and even the smaller 2 stories, that have not a great deal of landscaping. We have provided a landscaping plan as part of the variance, if I'm not mistaken, that very clearly articulates the amount of landscaping, which is about 25% of the site. In other words, 1,700 square feet of the 7,000 square foot lot, 25% of it is covered in landscaping. And we have introduced not mature, but 24-inch box trees where we can to help offset the loss of the trees that are out there. Again, I think the benefits here are that Perhaps we are going to lose a mature tree. However, none of the trees on the site are protected trees, and they have been overgrowth, which really is beneficially visually great for the neighbors. Unfortunately, those trees will come down. They have to. But we are replacing it with a great deal of landscaping, and it's evident by the landscape plan that we've submitted. And hopefully the city will approve that with regard to the number of trees and landscaping that's provided on that. So I don't, again, we've addressed it as best we can. We put in 25% of the site and dedicated that for landscaping. A lot of that is public landscaping in the walkways and the entryways that are visible from the street, so it's not buried behind the units. Again, we've taken every liberty we can to put landscaping in where there was no other use for the property, and as best we could. So hopefully that answers the questions regarding the landscaping. And again, in the main entry corridor portal, that landscaping ranges from 4 foot deep to 15 foot deep along the west side of the property in an effort to help buffer and provide some of and replace some of that landscaping that we're taking down. So hopefully that's...
Sorry, can you explain that one part over again, or maybe come up and point that
Certainly.
out? Oh, thanks.
This is the, we call this the east portal, entry portal, where all the entries that you see that are located here.
Right.
That entry portal, that landscaping varies from anywhere from 2.5 feet to 15 foot deep in the public space here, and rolls through. We've landscaped as much as we can along the front side and wrap that landscaping through here so it's not completely buried behind the units, although there is private landscaping behind the units for private use also.
Okay.
Okay, and then again, as part of our driveway, again, that required 10-foot width for a driveway leaves us a little bit of room for landscaping here. Here, we have a mature tree here, a 30-foot tree plan for this location right here, and again, some more trees back in this location. So we've tried to replace as much as we can, and the landscape plan is pretty indicative of that. It's not indicative on this particular plan, but there is a landscape plan as part of the submission package.
Is the driveway width as narrow as it can
narrow as
be?
I
So
wish
it's
it could
10
get-
foot? 10
I wish
foot,
10
feet?
10 foot. I wish it were 8. We put more landscaping right here.
Okay.
But it is, regrettably, it's an empty site right now. So yes, we will lose some of that landscaping.
In your initial presentation, you mentioned something about common open space. I'm assuming you've got the code required
Code
amount,
required
even
common
though
space.
there was some
Yes.
talk about it not being used.
It is, well, it's considered, per the code, it's considered common open space. And it's
Right.
open to general public. They can walk through here and utilize this whole area through here. So it is
Well, the common open space is designed for
the unit for the residents.
the residents. Yeah.
Precisely.
Okay.
And again, we've taken, normally what we've taken from a back setback area, which is considered common open space, we've turned
That
it to...
becomes a backyard.
It becomes a
right?
backyard for that resident himself. And each one of these units have a backyard, covered patio, open to the sky, landscaping. So again, we try to emulate a single-family home style setup rather than a condo where they're stacked on top of the concrete decks. So,
Is there any opportunity to increase landscaping in this area with respect to the driveway radius requirements, or?
and that's what you see here are the driveway radiuses that we had to keep to back up. And we're driving actually a little over this landscaping, backing over it to pull
What's
back out.
you are?
Yeah.
What's this?
That's a very good question.
Okay.
But there are radiuses that we've overlaid based on what the city's requirements for backup. Actually, this is a 3-point from here out, turn around, so they show the radius that one can literally back out here and come around this way.
Okay.
So we've mitigated that because, again, that is a backup space for the 2-car garages on both sides of the units.
Okay.
We don't want people backing all the way through this driveway, so it was imperative to be able to have space to turn around, do a 3-point turn, and come back out.
Did you explore different alternative arrangements for the garage area in this, for the front garage backing out to the street, side or rear, like these?
There were actually great deal of conversation and design studies done on that, and in fact, I think Lane Wilkinson, along with Habitat, sponsored a charrette, a public charrette in Pasadena, to try and solve precisely this, and how would you go about getting 3 units on the site and not have a unit back onto the street. However, in this particular case, because the zone and number of units, we're allowed to back out onto the street.
Right.
Per code. But we have just studied it dramatically, and yes, there are other layouts, but it will not yield the same amount of common and public open space and landscaping. And it turns these into larger driveways, because you imagine, here's a backup for 2 units. Imagine this unit having to have another backup somewhere else on the site. There's no room for it. So, and the site isn't deep enough to be able to set back and then have the garage here and a backup here. So no backup could run this way. It's physically impossible to be able to get the car to maneuver on this, other than what we're demonstrating today. So have any kind of space left over for a garage that doesn't cover. You could literally build over this parking lot, but we didn't want to. The idea is that, again, the car really dictates how this layout has been developed, actually.
And the next question is, did you explore alternatives for this area to maybe introduce a front door here?
Absolutely, and we did. As you look at the floor plan, this is indicative of how the second and third floor work in terms of how you actually get a stair to work, how it lands, and how the bedrooms work. If this stair gets flopped in any other position, and or if entry takes place in another position, it cuts the use of this area out. Again, we're struggling to get the 25% ground cover use because we didn't use semi-sub garages.
Right, and you don't have it now.
We don't have it now. We're at 15%. So if this stair changes its location and or its orientation, it literally destroys the use of the most effective, optimal use of the floor plan layouts, because the stair will land in a wrong location.
This flipped
Exactly.
is the stairway will land here, and then all of a sudden
Now the kitchen is
straight.
Exactly. Now, because you're looking for the depth in the master bedroom, the stair has to be pushed and come one way. You want the master bedroom orientation this way. If that stair goes out that way, then the master bedroom orientation is that way. So it literally changes the dynamics of each floor dramatically, and we studied it intensely to make sure that we couldn't get the entry off the street, so we had a front door on the street. Fortunately, you can't do it. So a great deal of thought and design effort was put into this to make these things work, especially the charrette that they hosted. I think they had 8 architects that showed up and did a charrette specifically for this, and how one would deal with not only the parking but the vertical transportation within the unit itself, because that really drives how these units are laid out. And the stair, anywhere they're laid out, luckily what we were able to do is put the stair here, get the entry in, and get a laundry and the unit use down here, direct access from the garage into the unit and up. So by the time you get all these doors in here and all this vertical transportation, horizontal transportation that needs to take place, there's only one solution.
Is this the only way to get to the rear yards
Precisely.
from inside the house?
Right. So you literally come down the stairs, go through this foyer, and then out into the backyard, which is right there. So look at the number of doors, what has to take place in this one area. It gets very complicated. So literally, if the stair flips, it changes the dynamics, flips the rooms, puts the orientation in the wrong location, and then all of a sudden we don't get a master bedroom that has any size to it at all. You can imagine these bathrooms are relatively tight. Everything is at its limit. We fought for inches to get these units in the bedrooms to be livable bedrooms. A 10 by 10 bedroom is not a large bedroom at all. Bathrooms that are 5 by 7, those are very, very tight. Back-to-back plumbing, again, efficiencies of use and efficiencies of dollars spent. We have a budget that we have to make sure these things work on from a habitat standpoint of view, and federal guidelines in terms of cost of construction, et cetera, et cetera. So it is a large challenge to get all the components and design criteria into a footprint that actually makes sense.
Okay. Okay, I think that was it. Thank you. All right, those were all the public speaking cards I had. If the applicant doesn't have anything else to say, I'm going to close the public hearing and take this case under submission. It is 10:20, and the case is, or the hearing officer hearing is closed now. Thanks.